We don't see your video right now because I'm not sure what's going on, but we can hear you okay.
I
So.
see him. I see Pierre.
Oh, you can see him? I can't see him.
So do I, but he's fuzzy.
Oh, there he is. He's
like
back.
big. He's like Bigfoot.
No one has better Wi-Fi than me, boys.
You're so proud of your Wi-Fi. Yeah, your video is always the grainiest.
It's funny though when you live in the city, like getting good Wi-Fi. I don't know. I'm the same, Pierre. Like on my new house, I'm like, nope, not me. Can't be me.
What's going on, folks? Welcome to Got Your Back NHL edition. Pierre LeBrun, Mike Johnson standing by. The NHL season at long last is finally underway. How about Connor Bedard's debut? We're going to bat that around a little bit. What stood out to you? Definitely some great moments at the very beginning point of what should be a great career for Connor Bedard. We're going to chat about that. Now, the fellows will make some cup predictions as well. How about Carolina Hurricanes head coach Rod Brind'Amour? FanDuel has them at number 2 as far as Stanley Cup favorites go. What does Brind'Amour have to say about those expectations? Hurricanes head coach joined Pierre and I. Got Your Back NHL edition brought to you by Kuma Outdoor Gear. They've got a wide range of gear to fit all those outdoor needs: tents and sleeping bags, travel games, pet products, drinkware. And are they ever fired up about that switchback heated chair? It's the first heated chair powered by Bluetooth technology. Yes, you can preheat the chair before you go outside, and it's getting to be that time of year. So to find a retailer near you, go online, kumaoutdoorgear.com. Experience luxury outdoors with Kuma Outdoor Gear. Mike Johnson at NHL Studios and Pierre LeBrun from his home post. Mike, you have to tell us about your green room. It's the Mike room.
It's. I think it's a blue room with a wall behind me. But yes, I'm down at the NHL Network Studios, and it's a big room, as you mentioned, way too big for just me. So we all have our clothes in here, and it is a
show us the suits.
That's Mike Johnson.
Yeah, a lot of sort of plain blues and grays. Hey, not a lot of flair happening there.
Well, I leave them here, so like I can't have fancy flared suit because I got to wear them over and over and over. Right, it's a problem. I got Mike Kelly here, and then over here I got Mike Rupp. So apparently, if your name is Mike, you get put in this little cubby hole, and we all operate here at together.
The all Mike zone.
Yeah. Open mic night. We have some sort of sponsored element into our office here. I mean, it's not Pierre and the Hartford Whalers, but it'll have to do for today.
Pierre, how are you doing, buddy? What's going on with you? You're sitting quiet so far.
Yeah, the opener tonight here in Toronto for the Leafs and the Habs. I shall be there, so that'll be good. All good, man.
Nice. So Connor Bedard made his NHL debut last night. Not sure if you guys heard or not. Not like it was wall-to-wall coverage all across the NHL spectrum last night, but rightfully so. And as we get to our breakdown, I think that's the place where we have to start. It was an interesting night. Stats line, 21-29. 1 assist, a second assist, but a nice one. 11 shot attempts, 5 shots, went 2 for 11 in the face-off circle. Johnny, to me, this was kind of to be expected, right? Some really nice moments, some flashes of brilliance, that intention to shoot the puck, and then some young stuff. Got knocked around on his ass a little bit, turned some pucks over. Everything you would expect from a teenager stepping into this game.
Honestly, Shaggy, if you were to say, write a sample stat line for his first game, you would have put something exactly what he did. 1, stands out 21 and a half minutes. That is a boatload of ice time. We talked about the opportunity for him to play a lot. He's going to get it. 2, you're talking about the shooter's mentality. 5 shots, impressive. 11 attempts, even more impressive. He's got it on his stick. He's got it in areas where he's trying to shoot, and he is not deferring or hesitating. That's impressive. 2 and 9 on the faceoffs, also very predictable. I mean, he's going up against a team with some veteran guys. You think about Malkin, Crosby, Lars Eller. These are guys who have been around, and faceoffs are the one thing that no matter how good you are when you get to the NHL, it's very difficult. You can be Crosby, you can be McDavid, you can be Matthews. It's hard to be good in faceoffs your first year, no matter how great you are. It was all kind of predictable, Pierre. But I thought it was impressive because he had the puck a lot. He had it in shooting spots a lot. I'm surprised he almost didn't score with some of the chances he had. And if he gets 5 shots and 400 on the year, he will score 40 goals because that's how good of a shooter he is. I thought it was a very solid first game, on a big stage.
Yeah, I agree. And, I thought there was some symmetry to the fact that he lost a couple of face-offs to Sidney Crosby, who in his rookie year, we know that Tail worked on his face-offs after his rookie NHL season. So that's kind of neat. But there's one particular play that, because I've wondered how would Connor Bedard's release translate at this stage. And I'm not counting NHL preseason. It's garbage. So this is his first real game. And he comes in on a play. Ryan Graves has pretty good reach, tall, lanky defenseman for Pittsburgh. And Graves' angle and stick is perfect for 99.9% of shooters in the NHL. And somehow, I don't know if you guys remember this, Bedard still puts the puck just in tight and gets a wicked wrist shot away that just misses the net, one of his 11 shot attempts. And I went, okay, so there you go. I mean, this is what's going to distinguish him in many things. But I'm sure Ryan Graves went to the bench and grabbed the iPad and went, how did that shot get away? Because I did everything perfect on that play. That's Connor Bedard. And that was the play that really caught my attention more than any other.
Johnny, what'd you make of that?
And I think that's going to be part of the learning curve for Connor Bedard and for the rest of the league. Like, you think you got him, and understanding maybe when you don't have him, even if you think you do. Like, that's going to be guys trying to figure him out and him trying to figure guys out, what works, what doesn't work. And everyone will be making adjustments because, I got him covered. I think I know what he does, but he will do something to counteract that. So, yeah, that's all part of the give and take. But he looked comfortable with the puck, and that's not surprising at all.
I like the fact they had him out there with a couple minutes left defending a 1-goal lead, too.
Empty net. Figure it out.
Yeah, well, for sure. But still, you're defending a lead, and I thought it was interesting that they had him out there, and I think ended up in a defensive zone situation. And but those are good experiences. He needs to feel the weight of those things, Pierre.
And by the way, and you talk about, when the Blackhawks brought in Nick Foligno and Corey Perry, I think some people were like, okay, and you understood what Kyle Davidson was doing, the GM, that he wanted Connor Bedard surrounded by the right kind of experience. And MJ, you've been on some teams, I'm sure, over the years when you played, where if you have the wrong kind of experience and it's a long season, that can go the other way. And what I loved, the exuberance on opening night of Perry and Foligno combining on the empty net goal, just the kind of leadership I think those two guys are going to provide to Connor Bedard and to the rest of that team, because there are going to be some long nights for that team, clearly. But
some great stuff.
It's amazing what you saw opening night from those two vets, honestly.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, P. It was some great sort of happenings surrounding the game, from being escorted security, that insane-looking scrum earlier in the day.
Separate room shot.
Looking like, what's that?
Yeah. Connor Bedard had to be taken to a separate room for his post-practice scrum. And then, did he forget his stick? What was he doing in the hallway, going out on the ice for his rookie lap? And he's like, I'm missing something. He goes scrambling back and grabs the stick. Now, he said he didn't forget it, but I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. It looked like he was a little late to it. And a lot of memorable moments for sure, Pierre.
And that warm-up clip will live forever because it'll be the last one you ever see with him without a bucket on.
What'd you make of that, Pierre? That had to get the league's attention a little bit. Hey, what's going on here?
Yeah. Sorry, kid. You're not grandfathered in. You're a big deal, but you're not grandfathered in on the bucket rule.
Apparently, you get the first two laps in Sans bucket, and that's okay. And then you got to get over to the bench and put it on when everybody else gets out there. Although, to be fair, if I ran a team, I'd want everyone to wear a helmet in warm-up as well. It's
for sure.
Right.
You're far more likely to get hit in the head with a puck in warm-up than you are during the game. 100%.
Yeah.
I think I said he was 2 for 11 in the faceoff circle. He was 2 and 11.
2 and
so
11.
2 for 13.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you guys saw the intermission piece that Sportsnet did, but it had Colby Armstrong with Bedard and McDavid, and they had friendly little competitions going on between them, and they had a faceoff competition. And Bedard won the best of 7 faceoff competition between he and Sid. And it was funny because right before they started, Bedard kind of looked at him and went are we going hard here? Are we trying?
Are we trying? What are we doing?
We're what are we doing here? And he got the word no, go for it. So Sid lost. And MJ, I'm guessing, it's all fun and who cares? But I don't
that
think
was the second week of
that.
September in Henderson, Nevada. Let's be clear. That's when
you know what? I'm going to go Sid's playing chess. He's laying the groundwork. Kid's going to
that
think he
opening
has a
night?
chance. He's like, oh, I got him on the power movie. Like, no, you do not.
Could he have
Absolutely do
beaten him
not.
cleaner? Could he have beaten him cleaner?
The opening face-off, Bedard
Yeah.
didn't even get his stick on the ice. He was nowhere near the puck. It was like, hang on. You're not in Regina anymore, kid. This is Sidney
Let's hear
Crosby you're
from
going up against.
let's hear from Connor Bedard talking right after the game
What are
here.
you gonna remember most about tonight?
The winning, yeah, for sure. I think I remember Foligno said in the room, it's like, a couple guys playing there first. Let's make it even more memorable. And I thought everyone, played a really good game, and it was a lot of fun to be a part of that win. But in the end, it's a long season, so we got to keep that going.
Just looking back, going into that face-off circle with Sidney Crosby, what was going through your mind?
Try to win it, and I failed miserably, but no, it was pretty cool.
And I failed miserably. He's honest. I love the fact that he didn't even hesitate. What will you remember is like the win. And that's the way this kid is wired, right? It's not about him. It's about them. That was Emily Kaplan from ESPN, by the way, on the interview.
Yeah, he's polished. I mean, like, part of his story this year will be how he deals with the amount of attention he's going to get.
Mm-hmm.
He's the next big thing in the NHL in a massive market that there is a gaping hole for a star to play in. And so you've gotten a sense, if you've ever listened to him, been around him, he's been the center of attention since he's been 12, I guess. But not surprising he answered that way, Pierre, but that is, I think that maturity will set him up well to have a chance to be as successful as he can be this year.
Yeah, and good to get the season, his first ever game out of the way. The home opener will also be a big deal in terms of the attention with him. But I think eventually he'll be able to get into somewhat of a routine. And, he has his own PR person with the Blackhawks, by the way, separate from the, what all the other players.
Sure, he's not taking any heat for that.
Yeah.
Private PR guy with 2 days in the league.
It's what the Penguins did with Crosby years ago.
Yeah, I know.
So they're going to start handling his minutes off the ice, if you will, in terms of media requests and so on. It'll get into a better routine for him where we can just focus on the game. Now, we should quickly have a comment on the Penguins because I think MJ and I have shared a brain on this, and I don't want to be Captain Negative. First of all, I never want to bet against Sidney Crosby, but I've been a bit puzzled by how many people have actually picked the Penguins as a dark horse Stanley Cup team this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's only one night, and they could win 8 of the next 10, but the same concerns I have about that team didn't change during the offseason, despite adding Erik Karlsson and changing who the GM was. This is an aging core. And I think they could make the playoffs, but I think they're going to be in a fight to the end to make it. And I just think this is who they are right now. And because they do have Crosby and Malkin and Letang and Karlsson, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But last night, sometimes on opening night, you try to do the big picture thing as a journalist. Some of the same concerns, man. I'm sorry. I mean, that's
The Chicago had like 85 attempts, like a ton of activity in Pittsburgh zone. So that'll be something that Mike Sullivan will be concerned with. I think why everyone gets fallen in love with Pittsburgh is that you remember how great all the players are. And if they ever all play at their greatest, that is an impressive collection of talent. The likelihood of that happening, the likelihood of them all staying healthy,
right,
not as good. I don't have them in the playoffs. So I'm not one of those people that are
there you go.
dark horse Stanley Cupping them. But it's hard to ever bet against it for sure.
Wrapping up the game last night, let's rate Connor Bedard's debut performance, gentlemen. Out of 10, I'm going to give him an 8. Had he scored a goal, would have been a 10. That's how much value I would have put on him scoring a goal in his debut. 2 full points I took away for not scoring a goal, but 8 out of 10 for me. Johnny?
Based on expectations, 7.5. Like he's supposed. It's not like it's my first game. Like he's supposed to be really good, and he was good, but he wasn't dominant. He wasn't perfect, and so I give him 7.5, and he probably would give himself less than that.
Yeah, I'll give him a 7 out of 10 just because he's in that same breed. Because he's in that same breed as Crosby and McDavid are hopes to be, and we hope to see that too. Those guys are harder than themselves than we are on them. And so to MJ's point, if Connor Bedard was on the show with us right now, he'd probably rank it a bit lower than what the two of you said, again, based on his own expectations. But I tell you what, the book's already out on him. You notice on the power plays that they had, I think it was Nolan Chari, they had someone already taken away a shot. It's his first ever power play in his NHL career. And I mean, he's got no ice to play with on their first ever power play. And I was like, they know who you are, kid.
Yeah, healthy dose of respect. Quizmaster, by the way, had him at 8.5. So Quizmaster was the easiest marker of all of us. We're pretty tough teachers here, guys, but I like it. Okay, so there were two stories happening yesterday on day one of the NHL season. One of them was fantastic, the hype around Connor Bedard. The other one, somehow the NHL saw its way to have, and I know this is about memos leaking and this and that, but listen, the NHL can control this stuff. They know stories are going to get out. Somehow the story about Pride tape being banned for pregame warm-up ends up dropping basically the day before the season starts and is a major narrative the day of the season. So the timing of this brutal for the National Hockey League, but more importantly, the story in itself. Recently, Pierre, they made the decision on the theme jerseys and not allowing those to be part of warm-ups and these nights. And then further clarification over the following months, crescendos into Pride tape being completely banned from warm-up altogether. And to me, this is just the NHL stepping completely in the wrong direction. I don't think you should force anybody to do anything, and I think you need to be really careful about that. But to forbid them on the game's biggest stage from expressing support for any causes that are meaningful, I think is a really bad look and a step in the wrong direction. Pierre?
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. It's a total overreach. And, I obviously took the time to talk to someone from the league about this. I mean, I wanted to understand where they came from on this. To your point, by the way, because they had to know this would eventually get out. They should have just come out at the Board of Governors last week when we were there covering it and got this over with. And yeah, it would have been just as brutal in terms of the reaction, but at least it would have been the last week of preseason and not on opening night. But anyway, that's a PR thing. So the background here is that the league, when they talked about this stems back to the Board of Governors' decision in June to ban the warm-up jerseys for Pride Night and other events and other cause nights. And then teams were confused by that decision and kept communicating with the league in the last month saying, well, what about this? What about that? Because, by the way, all 32 NHL teams are planning a Pride Night this year. And some teams are really hoping to lean in hard and say, well, we're going to make it even better despite, not being able to have the jerseys and so on. So they kept asking the league questions and saying, what about this? What about that? And finally, the league sent out yet another memo last week clarifying really precisely the do's and don'ts. And one of them is, nothing on your equipment or your stick or anything that supports, what's happening that night on these nights. And obviously that meant no Pride tape. And I just think it's overstepping in a terrible way because Pride tape was introduced 6 years ago. And one of the things I like about it is that, to your point, it's not like every player felt he had to put Pride tape on his stick. I love the way that it became a thing that some players organically just wanted to do. And really, I think became part of the hockey culture in a good way, not in a forced way. And I think that touched a nerve yesterday, or I guess Sunday when the story first broke, but yesterday got more attention. And I just think we're going to look back and say, what was the NHL thinking? Because now globally, it feels like the NHL has really gone backwards, on Pride and the kind of message that it sends about wanting to be an inclusive league and sport. That is not at all how it feels right now.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's an easy decision that they got wrong. I don't think that was going to bother anyone. And the same right that we support for players to not participate in things that they're not comfortable in for whatever reason is the same right I want to give players to participate in things if they are comfortable in. And this is something that is unique to them. It's not sort of distracting. And so if it's a little gesture the players could make on a Pride night where there are no Pride jerseys and we won't go all the way down the road of there were some Russian players feeling legitimately concerned about wearing those jerseys in home and everyone's safety and all the rest of it. We're not going to go down that road. But if it's a Pride night and a guy wants to put some tape on, there is absolutely no harm. No one's going to get criticized. Like maybe as a player, I support clearly Pride Night, but I have a routine in my game. I don't want to put different color tape on for warm up because I'm getting ready for the game. No one's going to have a problem with it. It seems like it's making a bigger mess than letting the guys do what they want. Other thing, and I'm a little surprised. I don't know, Pierre, maybe you can help me with this. I guess the league can mandate this. There's no conversation with the Players Association.
Well, Bill Daly was quoted, I think by Salem from our Calgary bureau yesterday saying that the PA had signed off on it. That's not quite what I heard on background from the PA. The PA was certainly informed of it, but it was a Board of Governors decision and the league was just going ahead with it. So there's two different versions right now of how this came into effect. And it'll be interesting eventually when Marty Walsh speaks to this because his own background from his own political background, he's been a staunch defender. So, we'll see how this plays out, especially if some players behind the scenes complain to the PA about this and ask questions.
What would happen, Pierre?
Well,
if Connor McDavid said, you know what? Pride Night, I'm putting tape on. What are you going to do to me?
Right.
What happens?
So there's nothing. I've read parts of the memo, and there's nothing in there that speaks to the penalties. And I think that the league is taking a wait and see on exactly what it would do if someone crossed the line and decide to still put Pride tape on. Which, by the way, I hope happens. I should mention I kind of buried an important part of the story, which was why the league ultimately made this decision. Again, which I completely disagree with, but part of their thinking was that the same way the jerseys had become kind of a media spotlight thing, who's wearing the jersey, who's not. They thought the media would hone in on who's got Pride tape on or not. Which again, I think that's never been a point of focus before. I don't know why it would be now.
Yeah.
And I should point out, it's not only a ban in warm up for Pride Night, it's a ban even in practices. Because sometimes you'd see the odd picture of a guy taping his stick up with Pride tape at practice on a Tuesday morning just because he felt like it. Also banned. Complete ban.
Well, what if somebody wanted to wear pink tape, green tape, orange?
Well, what if a prominent alumni in an organization were to pass away and the guys wanted to wear the number on the back of the helmet? What about little things like that? Like, where is the line? And
what about we Pierre and I are in Toronto. Every game they honor a military member during a commercial timeout. It's not on the broadcast, but the people in the building. And can you still do that? And if you can, and again, I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying why pick and choose? It seems like even though it's not like, can you wear camo tape? I don't know the rules of all these things. It just seems like they didn't have to go down this road because it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah. No, if you read the memo, they don't want players with any kind of theme and anything on their equipment or sticks or jerseys, nothing. And again, what the league will tell you is that they've strongly encouraged their clubs to continue with their Pride Night plans and to have Pride Night. And they will go on in 32 markets. But, again, just the message that this sends, is honestly, it's devastating.
Couple of definitive comments in the media yesterday as players across the league were asked about this. Connor McDavid was asked in Edmonton. Rasmus Andersson was asked in Calgary. McDavid first and then Anderson.
Whether that's Pride tape or pink tape or anything, it's something, like I said, it's always something that I've enjoyed in terms of a league standpoint. Is it something that I'd like to see put back into place one day? Certainly. But that's not the way it is right now.
It sucks. It's something that's close to my heart and something I would love to support, but, it is what it is. And, we got to find other ways to support it. And I think I don't know when they came out, but, we got to find other ways to support it. And, it sucks because it's something that's close to my heart.
So McDavid saying, would he like to see it go back the way it was before? Yes. The one thing I'll say here, Pierre, is that, and again, we were kind of going through this for the first time as media when you had players who were setting themselves aside and not wanting to take part in these things. And, players who did this, and I think back to Provorov and even some other guys, not necessarily just Russian players, they took a pretty good beating in the media when it happened. And perhaps rightfully so, depending on where you come out on this. But what I would say is if we do get back to a day where these things are happening again, I think maybe, I don't know if you want to call it a lesson, but I think maybe the focus becomes less on the guys who are sitting it out, more on all those who are celebrating, because now that it's not there, it's really unfortunate. And I think the next time, if this is going to be allowed again and players choose not to, I think we note it. I think there can be some commentary on it. But I really do feel like the bulk of it needs to be on the positive parts of it, because that's 99.5% of it. So maybe there's a bit of a thought process in there for the media too, if this ever comes around and goes the other way.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And you know, the last thing I'll say is that the interesting thing is part of the league's thinking in banning the Pride tape is to remove potential focus on the players who didn't want to use Pride tape. But
yeah, they're protecting the downside, right? They're protecting the players of the downside, not focusing on the upside.
But what it's done now is that now we're going to be on the lookout. Is any player willing to risk a fine or whatever the penalty is to? So now the onus is on the players who already have their heart in the right place. Now there's more pressure on these players. Are you going to defy the league and put the Pride tape on? And in some ways, that's unfair to those players. I mean, not unfair in the sense that, hey, if you're a true ally, you should be hopefully, perhaps willing to do this. But I just mean suddenly the focus is on guys who are already doing the right thing, and now that right has been taken away from them, if that makes any sense.
Good conversation, guys. Much appreciated. Okay, we're going to move on because the Edmonton Oilers are opening up their season tonight against the Vancouver Canucks, and we have to talk a little Connor McDavid, expectations for the season. We'll blitz through this a little quicker, guys. I asked you for predictions on point totals from McDavid, goal totals. Let's get to those first. Johnny, what do you got?
Okay, he's at 850 for his career. He's not getting to 1,000 this year, Shoggy. He's going to be just short. I'm giving him 54, 92, 146. He'll be just shy of 1,000 for his career. But I mean, crazy year. Art Ross, but not 100, not 150 or 170.
I got him at 55, 90, 145. So you and I are very close on our projections, Johnny. Pierre?
I didn't think of one, so
you didn't do your homework. You got to pay attention to your text messages.
No, I know. I was driving when you sent that. But the thing I would say, though, is that I think Connor McDavid, this will be the year where he's the most disinterested in his point total. Like, when I sat down with him in Henderson, Nevada, and other media, him and Leon Draisaitl, I got to tell you, he sounded exactly like Nathan McKinnon and Gabriel Landeskog did the year before they won the Cup. Which is to say, stop talking to me about Hart trophies and points and not interested. Not interested. The laser eye focus right now on McDavid and Draisaitl is so reminiscent to me of what I think could happen here.
So I did an interview with McDavid the day he was named, given the honor of being number one on TSN's Top 50. I'm not sure if you guys heard it or not, but I got into a conversation with him about his skill sets versus Leon Draisaitl's. I've got some of that interview here. The entire thing is available on tsn.ca. So here's McDavid talking about his skills and Draisaitl's.
Want to play a little game you're going to hate?
Sure.
Let's talk about the skills between the two of you.
Okay.
You had to swap skills with them in a couple of areas,
Yeah.
right? So if I were to say to you, you could have Leon Draisaitl's puck protection, but you got to give him your lateral mobility. Are you doing that deal?
That's not a deal I'd make. No, my skating is my is my bread and butter. It's something that opens up, makes a lot of different plays available to me. I would definitely take Leo's passing though, and his vision. That is something that I would.
That was going to be my next one. Like
Okay.
like his backhand passing for, I don't know, what's a fair trade there?
I would take his backhand passing for maybe my wrist shot. He's got a great one-timer. He's got a great one-timer. Scores goals kind of on the back end, or one-timer kind of more, kind of pushes the puck where, I'm a little bit more of a wrist shot, I would say. So I would take that trade for sure.
And safe to say you wouldn't trade top speeds with him for anything?
No, I wouldn't trade top speeds with anybody in the league. So.
I wouldn't trade top speeds with anybody in the league. Love that comment from Connor McDavid. But Johnny, there's no way Draisaitl's doing that deal. His passing for McDavid's wrist shot, that's a bad deal.
Not for his wrist shot. I give it for your hands. I'll give you can do your passing for I'll give you my passing if you give me your skating. Like that. But like, it's amazing. That was a great little exercise there because Connor clearly understands what makes him special. And he's like, I'm not trading my skating for anything, for anyone.
No,
because that's what allows him to do what he does. So like, it doesn't matter if you can pass better if you can't skate the way he skates. So yeah, that was well done. And if I'm Connor, I wouldn't trade your skating for anyone either. That would be the same.
I thought there was a little hesitance too in some of the answers, which I think is born out of, I love this guy so much. I don't want to say the wrong thing because I've never been asked this before. You know what I mean? Like,
he was honest though. I love the fact that he didn't take the deal.
Great question.
Yeah.
But it shows you how much it mattered to McDavid to answer that question right, even though it's just for fun because of the mutual respect those two guys have for each other.
Okay, we had the Connor McDavid point projections. Let's do Austin Matthews. Pierre, I know you don't have your homework done, so you can go last. Start thinking about it. Johnny, where do you got Austin Matthews coming in?
Points, 53 goals, 45 assists, 98 points.
Oh, you don't give him 100 points this year. Healthy, eh?
Yeah. That's
interesting.
Right.
I got him 56, 48, 104.
So you're all over me because you gave him 5 more points. Like somehow that is the point.
I pushed him over the 100-point mark. You really think that Austin Matthews, if he's at 98, isn't going to find a way to get 2 extra points to get to the
Mitch Marner didn't do it last year. He had 99. So did Jack Hughes. So that's fair. I don't want to hear about that. And listen, we're in the same margin of error. So I think we're about the same.
Okay. Yeah, but it's a concept. 100 points or not, you're saying no. No, that's the headline. Johnny says Matthews under 100 points. Pierre?
Because the Leafs are going to be so far ahead, he's going to rest the last 2 weeks. You didn't get the whole point.
You just beat me to it. I predict 59 goals for Austin Matthews.
Ooh,
and he doesn't get 60.
He doesn't get to play the last game of the year because the Leafs are 14
guys.
points ahead in the Atlantic, and it's wise to sit him out before their
what are you,
first
Mike
round
Babcock
playoff.
Coaching Mike Modano? What are you doing over there? Come on. You can't do that.
That's awesome. Last prediction. Go ahead.
Hold on. You have to finish. You have to sit
sorry.
him out the rest for his first round, for the Leafs first round playoff series against Ontario rival Ottawa Senators.
Oh, he put the whole storybook on it. Okay.
Wow, look at that. I like that.
I had everything ready to go.
Another prediction. Pierre, get thinking. Nylander, average annual value on a new contract. MJ, I'm going to say 9.5. Just throw it right there. A little less than we think they're looking for, but right in that range. It's an easy, safe play.
9.7.
Okay.
Want to be cute? 9.788 because he wears it. I mean, like 9.7. Not going to get
every
10,
cap dollar matters, bud. You can't get cute with today's cap.
No more extra.
None of that.
$59,000 a year from Roman Josi. Yeah, seriously. Did we see that? Are the Tampa Bay Lightning going to be like $2 short of their cap limit? Like literally $2?
Crazy.
9.7 would be what I'd say.
All right, Pierre, get off your phone. What's your prediction?
Well, I was doing a calculator thing there because the thing that I keep going back to with Nylander is that the 8th year that he can get with Toronto will affect the total dollars compared to what he could do July 1st elsewhere on a 7-year deal. And so let's say there is $10 million a year out there in the open market, which there could very well be for a player this special, I think. So let's say
you want $70 million on the open market, which would be 8 years at 9 be 72 in Toronto, is what he's trying to suggest, Shaggy, is I think the math he's trying to work on that calculator.
So I'm going to go 9.4 million could get it done because that's still going to be more money in totality than he can get July 1st. We'll see.
All right. Cup final predictions. I was torn. I wanted to go Edmonton, Toronto because I think it would be fun. And quite frankly, I'd be covering it. And as media, we often cheer for the travel. So I would way rather have Edmonton, Toronto than what I did pick, which was Edmonton, Carolina. Has nothing to do with us having Rod Brind'Amour on the podcast today. I just think that team is stacked right through it. And their blue line is fantastic. So I got the Oilers winning the cup, beating Carolina. Johnny?
I don't even know what to say. I picked the same, and I feel so dumb now that I have the same as you. I don't even know what to do with this.
You picked the exact same thing?
I picked Carolina beating Toronto in the conference final. I put Edmonton beating Dallas, and I have Edmonton beating Carolina to win the cup. I don't like this one.
Terrible travel.
I'm gonna have to revisit. I'm gonna have to revisit my picks though. If I'm pairing up with you, I got to revisit the entire system.
Come on now, P.
I actually wrote a prediction piece. I actually wrote a prediction piece in the Athletic Monday, which is
Edmonton, Toronto, right? If I remember,
put it out there. Not only did I have Edmonton, Toronto in my cup final, which obviously will be wrong because I picked it. I had Carolina, Toronto, and Dallas, Edmonton as my conference finals.
Okay.
Like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
This is troubling.
Bad podcasting is what this is.
Yeah.
I have Ottawa and Arizona. Dark horses. Just kidding.
There you go. I like it. There's our headline. Johnny,
I thought you were going to say Ottawa, Arizona Cup final, and I was like, man, that's Mystic Mike on steroids.
Yeah.
That's not good crazy.
But by the way, what was I going to say? But I had the Oilers winning the cup in Game 7 at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto.
Oh,
Connor McDavid could just take the cup and go to his parents' place with it that night.
Just, go right up to his own place in Aurora. Perfect.
So you think the Leafs will have home ice advantage in that series too, hey? You're giving them a higher point total than the Oil?
I think the Atlantic Boston losing its heart and soul. The Bruins are obviously still very much a playoff team. Tampa starting without Vasilevsky, although I still have them in. Florida's got injuries on the back end. Yes, Ottawa, Buffalo, Detroit going to knock at the door, but I think the pathway for the Leafs to pile up the points in the Atlantic Division is absolutely there.
Pierre saying more good teams in the Atlantic, more great teams in the Pacific.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Well, we will not hold any of you accountable to these predictions because nobody ever does, but lots of fun as always. Okay, before we go, we got to do a red card, yellow card, no card. Now, we don't have the ultimate arbiter today because he's busy off doing Terry Ryan things. But I am going to be the ultimate arbiter today, gentlemen. I am going to be the one that drops the definitive word, and you guys can tell me what you think about my definitive word. I am issuing a red card today to the National Hockey League for last night's game between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Chicago Blackhawks. Sidney Crosby, Connor Bedard facing off. I would have opened those mics up. I would have let both teams know, hey guys, I would have let Sid know, Bedard know, mics are going to be hot for the opening face-off. Don't have to do anything, but just so you know. And I would have let nature happen. There might have been an amazing moment between those two. Who knows? Maybe Sid would have said, good luck, kid. Or maybe they would have said nothing and it would have been silence. Maybe Bedard would have lost a draw and gone, or something like that. I didn't like the fact they had the referee step in and start talking. Stay quiet. That was the potential for a great moment. They trampled all over it. I get it. They've done it before, but they needed a stay quiet red card to the NHL for missing a potential great moment.
Pierre?
Yeah, I disagree. So I think I'm just going to give it I'm no card because Sidney Crosby and Connor Bedard, and we don't know as much about Connor Bedard yet from what we've seen. The last thing they want is to take center stage on TV in that moment. They just want the puck to be dropped. I bet you they wouldn't have said a word to each other.
Maybe, but what if they did?
Well,
that soundbite would have gone down in history.
That's why it's a yellow card. I mean, I get the idea. Welcome to the league, Connor. Have a great game from the referee. And, he's just doing what he's supposed to be doing. But they missed the opportunity. It might have been nothing, but it might have been something much better than the referee saying, hey, welcome to the league. Let's have a good game. I'm with you. Yellow card. I don't know what we would have gotten, but maybe we got something. And maybe, I think your point is well made. Maybe we get something after the face-off that is just instinctive. Oh, fuck. You know what I mean? Like whatever it might be, right? And you guys forget. So they may not want to be the show, but Pierre, guess what? They are the show.
They are.
And it is a show. So let's put on a show. Yellow card.
See, to me, the mic should have been on Corey Perry, but hey, that's me. I like that stuff.
He wasn't taking the opening face-off.
There should be a separate Corey Perry channel.
Yeah.
But he was on the bench,
right.
But that's where Corey Perry does his work, man, in terms of the things.
Oh, I hear
there
it all.
should be a
I hear
separate
it.
feed. If the NHL gets real serious about just pure entertainment, there should be a separate channel you can tune into that's all Corey Perry all the time, every game, mic'd up hot for the entire thing. That was red card, yellow card, no card. I'm taking the win as the ultimate arbiter this week. Great job, guys. Time now to get to our interview this week. I really appreciate Rod Brind'Amour taking some time to chat with us. Talked about the pressure the team is facing this upcoming year. Had a great Got Your Back story for us as well. So, presented by Kuma Outdoor Gear, here is Rod Brind'Amour. Traded to the Carolina Hurricanes back in 99-2000 and basically has been there ever since. 10 years as a player, 7 as an assistant, going on 6 as a head coach. Rod, think back to to when you first heard about that trade? If someone had said to you, yeah, this will be like 23, 25 years, what would you have said?
No chance. No chance. I mean, the change in here in just in general for hockey, but for me, for sure. When I first got here, it was a big adjustment. No one even knew where the rink was when I first got here. I had to ask someone at the hotel I was staying at, and they didn't know what the Hurricanes were. They didn't know what the arena was called, anything. And I was like, what have I got myself into? And then, there wasn't a big interest, fan-wise. It was very, very, I didn't think this would be a place for me. And then, it grew so quickly. I mean, the people here are great, and then the area is phenomenal. It's big. It's kind of like a hidden gem, and now the secret's out. Right, everybody's moving down here. It's it's getting a little crowded. All of a sudden, it's a little longer to get to the rink. Traffic, So it's been great though. We got great fans, and the Hurricanes are now cemented in this community. So it's been a great transformation, and it's been great to watch it all.
How far into your stay did you realize, oh yeah, this is good, and I want to make this home? Like, how long did you wait before you bought?
Yeah, well, it wasn't long, I'll be honest. And a lot of it had to do with just, like I said, the people and the organization and the team. I got here right away. I didn't play well. And I just remember they were very supportive. Like, it was, I needed to be better, and I knew it, but nobody made me feel like I wasn't doing it, if that makes sense. So I was like, man, that's interesting. And then again, as I got to know people in the area and the community, and it was a great place to raise a family. And I could tell we had really good people in here, player-wise. Like, it was like good guys to be around, and that was a big thing for me.
Well, it's funny, Ryan's first question about asking you 23 years ago about Carolina. Imagine asking you 12 years ago, by the way, you guys are going to host an outdoor game and fill the stadium. I mean, that's
exactly.
Exactly.
That was amazing. We've had a real good run here the last 5 years of just one thing after another. That's just been real positive. And again, I think when you have good people around, and I gotta be honest. Tom coming in and spending money on the players, make a fair fight. All of a sudden, things just changed. It just did, and the expectations went up and everything else. So it's certainly it's been nice to be a part of it.
Well, I was going to say it, and you guys are knocking at the door, Rod. Some deep playoff runs here the last couple of years. Listen, there is no league or sport where there's so many elite teams that are so close, and between health and injuries and luck and some randomness, you just want to have a shot every year as an elite team, and you guys have that. After that, let's find out again next spring. But what will it take, do you think, for this team to take that final step?
Well, you're right. That's what's great about the NHL is every team, I think, really literally has a chance to win every year. Like, even teams that count teams out, no, I'm telling you that the difference between top and bottom it's real close. And, you got to stay healthy at the end. I do know that. I'd like to see a team that won a Stanley Cup that at the end wasn't healthy, because that's the team that usually can do it. Because you get down to the end, especially when you're down to the 7, 8, whatever last teams. I mean, the difference is that health, that player, and especially if it's a key player out of your lineup and they don't have that out, is that the difference? It probably. And if you just look at it, it's So I think that's a big deal. Obviously, staying healthy for any organization, but for us especially over these last 5 years, we've always had a real key piece missing when we needed it the most.
I'm sure you don't pay a ton of attention to the pundits out there, but I'll tell you, the pundits out there, a lot of them are picking Carolina to go a real long way this year. The feeling being you have as good a chance as you have, in any of the last few seasons. I wonder, Rod, that's what the pundits are saying. Is that what you feel in your gut too, that this collection of players has as good a chance as in your time as head coach here?
Well, 100%. I mean, we've been good for a while, and we really haven't changed the group. We've done a great job of keeping that group together, and actually, I think, getting a little better, adding some pieces that are pretty good players, and so it should make us a little better. But obviously, it all has to come together, and we know all that. So we'll see. It's like I said, there's so many good teams. Literally, I couldn't tell you. None of us can tell you who's going to win, but I wouldn't be shocked if anyone won this year. It's just that's just how it goes. But I love that we're in the conversation, right? We're basically what it is you're saying we're relevant, and that's what you want to be as an organization.
Now, Rod, it's opening week in the NHL, and I go back to last month. I saw you at the GM meetings, GM and head coaches meeting, which was pretty unique to have the coaches at the meeting in Chicago. And I know that part of the back and forth in that meeting, from what I understand, is that the league wanted to have a direct conversation with coaches. How am I going to put this? About maybe how they handle themselves during games in terms of certain calls and officiating. And listen, I think sometimes you wear your emotion on your sleeves, right, Rod? And you call it like it is. What's your sense of handling those situations?
We're getting to a point where there's a reason coaches get upset. That's what I'll say. And very rarely, I'm not going to lose my mind if I'm, if I'm not, there's a reason, so right. And we're at a point now where I think we can actually keep pushing this issue and, find out why are we upset? Well, it's pretty obvious and we can correct these things. So if you get what I'm getting at, there's ways that we can improve, I think, our league. And we have the best officials in the game. It's impossible to officiate our game live. It is impossible. There's none of these are, I saw it, I'm mad. It's always, I got this thing sitting beside me on the bench that they're showing over and over. And I'm like, well, that's not what happened. You know what I mean? So These are the reasons that coaches are getting upset. So either take that away or use it to help those guys. Is kind of where I've been at here for a long time. Because if I don't have a second look at it, I'm not going to be upset about it, because I would never know live what these penalties are that you get upset about. So hopefully we can continue these conversations to get it past, you're getting upset, and to, how can we stop us from getting upset? And I think there's definitely a way to do that.
Yeah. And about picking your spots, I'm sure, a little bit too. How does that compare to the relationship that you had with the referees as a player? Is it a lot different than it is now as a coach?
No, we have a great relationship. That's the thing. We just had a preseason game and I won't mention the ref because I don't want to sing him out, but we had a little back and forth and we're yelling, and then he comes over and he goes, that was good. I said, yeah, it was good. Like they control the game. Right. They know when you've crossed the line. They know, and the good ones always come over and say, okay, you had enough, and then you stop. That's just how it is. So I think it's actually healthy to have a good relationship like that. They know the game's emotional. They know that you have to play this game with passion, and I think you have to coach it with passion to be successful. So I do think they also understand if you can get your team to have respect to the referees, that one guy yelling at the refs or questioning them is better than 20 guys yelling at them. So there is a sense of that too. So listen, it's a give and take. We understand there's going to be mistakes made. And they also understand that we put a lot into this. You prepare for, forever for a game, and to have you also know that one call that goes against you could cost you that game. So they understand that the investment into it, and they're all great. They're great.
Rod, the perception certainly that we have from the outside looking in is that your players go through a wall for you. And I think we're at an interesting time, not just in hockey, but in pro sports, about coaches and athletes and the times we live in, and how to press the right buttons while still being respectful and having those relationships. How do you, where do you think, what works for you that you clearly have this bond with your players? And obviously maybe the fact that you played or that you're the first guy in the gym, I don't know. But what's your sense of what has struck a chord for you guys?
Well, you're 100% right. The times have changed. That's for sure. No doubt about it. I think what for me is, if you can just try to be as honest as you can, that's an easy way to get through your day, and try to have honest conversations with players. That makes it easy. But at the end of the day, you have to have the right group. And, the players we have in here have to get that. Sometimes you got to have honest conversations, and I think it doesn't mean you always have to pat them on the back. Sometimes you got to, do the other, and it's just having those respect and do it respectfully, but they understand we're all trying to be great here. And I think being respectful at the end of the day, that's really all it is. And I think times have changed, but I don't think that'll ever change.
There's a style of play that you guys have had success with. There's a relentless energy about it, shooting from everywhere, just a real push for pressure. What do you think new players coming into your system need to learn really fast in order to fit in properly? What's the Carolina system that guys got to wrap their heads around immediately?
Well, I mean, that's pretty obvious. We just want guys to give all they got. If you come in and you lay it out there, game in, game out, then we walk away with our head held high, So that's the first thing, and I think we get a pretty good buy-in there that way. And it's style of play. To be honest, everyone's playing now. It's the way it's gone, and I think it's the guys enjoy playing that kind of hockey. So that's how we do it. You come in here, I think everybody understands you gotta be willing to just lay it out there.
Is it more the same, Rod, that gets you over the hump, or is there an area of the game that you're going to put an extra focus on this season that maybe will help you cross a line you haven't crossed yet?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I wrestle with that every off season. Okay, we're doing pretty good here on almost everything. Why do you want to? And everyone seems to be kind of trying to adopt the way you're doing things. So why are you going to change just because we didn't quite get over the hump? There's areas to get better at for sure, and we will definitely we're focusing on that. Couple little tweaks, and I'm going to watch those, because if those couple little tweaks don't produce what we were getting, I'm going right back to what we were doing. You know what I mean? So there's a little adjustments that you think might work, but a lot of times they just don't, because it's for whatever reason. So we definitely have a couple little, I call them tweaks, but the overall game shouldn't change.
Rod, a couple of years ago when you signed your latest contract with the Hurricanes, I remember that there were some GMs that were like, oh my God, is he really going to go to market? And they were pretty excited. And of course you didn't, because Carolina is your home. You signed within 2 weeks of being a free agent. You're among a little group of coaches, I think, with Lindy Ruff, Todd McClellan, and DJ Smith, that is entering the final year of your deal here. Does that weigh on you at all, or I have the feeling that it doesn't?
Yeah, it's I don't really know how to put it. It's, I'd like to get it done if it's going to get done, just because I don't want to have, that's the next guy asked me the same question, and the longer it goes on, everyone's going, what's going on here? So hopefully we get to it. I do know the priority, and I talked to both Tom and Don about it, was let's get our guys that we need to sign this summer. And that took a while. And it was like, we got to make sure that, we're getting Jordan Stahl back, we're getting the list. And we didn't quite accomplish everything we tried. So, now we're at a point where, I'm sure I'll get a call here at some point, and we'll try to work something out. But, we'll see.
Your organization is known for being analytically driven in some of your decision-making processes. I wonder, Rod, how that maybe is implemented on the front lines with you as the head coach. I mean, you've got your opening game coming up here. What decisions do you make that are based in any way, shape, or form on analytics day to day as a head coach in the league?
It's certainly a huge part of the game. I think all sports now. I kind of look at it differently. I think the analytics, you've been using them forever. It wasn't on paper. Like the analytics for me was, whatever. If you know most goals are scored 5-on-5, well, the rush goals or this, you don't have the exact number in your head. I can't tell you that, 80% are scored on the rush, but I know you want to create rush chances, and I know you want to create, so that's, you're just getting backed up information that you should already kind of have in your repertoire, if you will. We don't use it a lot on the day-to-day stuff. I think where our organization really uses it is on players from, other organizations to identify and then, check out or whatever. That's where I think it comes into play. And we have a real good department that's dialed in on all this stuff. But as far as like what we do and what we use, I really, it's probably not that high. But again, we are using it. It's just not the way you would normally think of it.
It feeds into my last question for you, Rod, is that after some big trades or signings that you guys have had in the last few years, I've noticed that Don Waddell has said at the news conference, and I spoke to Rod and we thought this player would fit into what we do here. It's not every coach in the league that has that kind of back and forth with his GM in terms of roster decisions. I think your relationship is unique that way. Maybe can you speak to that?
Well, that's why it's like, you always look at this job and everyone, there's a monetary value, like, you get paid this, but there's other things to it. Right. And I feel pretty lucky that I get those conversations. Like I'm involved in all of it. And so from Tom to Don, like when we're talking about decisions and the people we want to bring in here, or people were, maybe we got to move out, we're all in these conversations. So that's, I don't know if it's unique. I don't really, talk to other coaches about it, but it's definitely a big plus.
Well, Rod, we appreciate you joining us here on the podcast today. As you know, it's called Got Your Back because we love asking our guests for that story, a time in their life where somebody came through for them, where somebody had their back. I imagine you probably had a lot of guys' backs, and there'd be a lot of Rod Brind'Amour stories out there. But when I put that question to you, what do you got for us? Who had Rod Brind'Amour's back?
Yeah, so you presented it this morning, and I quickly thought about a couple things that just came to mind because one just happened, and it's with my coaching staff and how I get out there and we have a practice plan, and I actually stick the drills under my hat so I know, and I forgot the practice plan. Forgot to put it in my hat. And the other day, so I'm out there and I kind of remembered to order the drills, but I'm totally messing them up. And Jeff Daniels is literally he's got my back on everything. And, he's like, no, it's the next one. It's this, it's that. So I'm like looking at him going, what are we doing next? I totally don't know. So he was kind of teeing me up. So that was a real good got your back moment because I didn't want to look like I didn't know what I was doing out there. So he's really good at having my back. And then I want to mention this, but it's not really funny. It's actually not a funny story, but just having your back in general. And that's my father passed away this summer, and my wife had my back on it. I'm taking care of all the arrangements and things. And so when you first mentioned this, who's got your back, that was just because I didn't know what to do. I'd never been in that situation, and it's very, it was tough to just go, well, what do you do? Like I literally didn't know what to do, and she took care of everything, and for my mom and obviously for me. So if that's a pretty good I got your back moment because that's real life right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been through that too, man. It's a blur. And then you think about it after the fact and you're like, how did anything get done? And it's because of the other people in our lives that pick up those details while we're a train wreck, hey?
Yep. So that was a good one.
Well, that's great, Rod. Thank you so much for sharing, and thanks for taking some time for us. Best of luck this season, man. We look forward to it.
Okay, guys. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks a lot, Rod. Appreciate it, man.
And that'll wrap up the podcast. A big thanks to our title sponsor, Kuma Outdoor Gear, and thanks to the Carolina Hurricanes and Rod Brind'Amour for taking some time to chat with us here on the pod. Keep an eye on Ray and Dregs this week. Their podcast set to drop on Friday. We'll have a real solid guest, Cole Caulfield of the Montreal Canadiens, set to join them. And then, as always, lots of content on the local front. Got Your Back YEG with myself, Jason Strudwick, and Rob Brown as the Oilers are getting themselves underway. Have yourselves a great Wednesday, folks. Look forward to chatting again real soon. Cheers.